Okay.
I think UP has done standing their ease of doing business.
नमस्कार सर. नमस्कार मंत्री जी.
कैसे सर? मुल्तानी जी, सान्याल जी सभी देख रहे हैं, प्रमोद जी भी देख रहे हैं, रंजीत भी हैं.
How are you sir? How are you now?
I'm doing
सर
well.
हमारे साथ मिस्टर मुल्तानी जो कि हमारे सीनियर वाइस प्रेसिडेंट हैं वो भी जुड़ चुके हैं.
प्रणाम सर.
नमस्कार.
प्रणाम टू यू सर.
प्रणाम सर.
नमस्कार सर, मैं काउंसिल जनरल हूँ टोरंटो में.
Thank you.
Sir, good evening. Gaurav here, sir.
How are you, Gaurav?
Very well, sir. Yes, sir. You keeping well, sir?
I'm doing well, being in the same city, but we don't get to see each other because of this pandemic, Corona.
I know, sir. I know, sir. But look after yourself, sir. You're special.
We all need to look after each other.
नमस्कार मनीष खेमका.
नमस्कार खेमका जी. I think should we are waiting for the minister.
Yeah, we are waiting for Minister Victor Federally, and yeah, Miss Nina Tangri, a parliamentary assistant from Ontario, she is already with us.
Yeah, good evening from India, Nina ji.
Good evening. आप कैसे अब ठीक है?
मैं ठीक हूँ जी. I'm sorry. Last time we had all organized, but
yeah.
No, that's health is first. Health is more important. पूर्वा जी आप कैसे ठीक है?
बिल्कुल ठीक है नीना जी. आपको सर लग रहा होगा कनाडा में भी जो लोकल एमएलएज हैं वो आपसे हिंदी में बात कर रहे हैं सर. दिस हैपेंस ओनली इन कनाडा.
है तो टूटी फूटी हिंदी है वैसे. It's a secondary language.
No, but it's still enough to warm up the hearts.
Good.
Yes, indeed.
Let me message the minister.
Yeah.
So, Honorable Minister, sir, we would, Siddhartha Singh ji, heartiest congratulations on your wonderful ranking and ease of doing business.
Thank you very much. Well, it's been a great effort by the team and the leadership of our Chief Minister. But certainly, in a large country like India, we becoming number 2 in ease of doing business. It shows.
I think
it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes.
Absolutely wonderful, sir. Outstanding. And God bless you.
We hope the next ranking will be number 1, and not only number 1, we'll be able to take UP into the top 3 at least.
That's wonderful, sir. That will be great.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. So
and we are sure about that.
Makhi mare wala.
The minister is trying to log on right now. I know I had to click a secondary button, so I'm just letting him know. So he is coming.
Okay.
So Apurva ji, is the consular services open now or it's limited?
I mean, the walk-ins are closed, but BLS ke through we are doing everything, and by appointment in consulate also.
Very good.
Yeah, because Ontario has gone back to phase 2, so all our, I mean, whatever we are planning to open it up is now again gone back. आप कब आ रहे हैं वापस?
November 3rd को. ये एयरलाइंस आजकल शेड्यूल रीशेड्यूल करता रहता है.
So Nina ji, we are just waiting for the minister.
Yes, I think he was having a little difficulty logging in. I think we had to press secondary launch meeting, which we normally don't have to do on our Zoom meeting. So I think that maybe, I'm not sure if that's a confusion. So I just let him know.
Yeah.
हमारे यहाँ तो अभी पावर चला गया तो ये थोड़ा शेडेड इफेक्ट आ रहा है.
What made you, Apurvaji, what made Canada to go into the kind of a semi-lockdown now? Is the numbers going up or what it is?
Yes, sir.
Has joined.
Sir. Yes, sir. The numbers were going up again. So they have phased it back to like phase 2. So the restaurants are closed for in-room dining and all that, sir. And gyms are closed. Clubs are closed. Schools are open though.
Okay. I think that we have the Minister Fideli with us. Thank you.
Good morning, Minister Fideli.
Good morning. My apologies with difficulty getting on this morning. I'm in my constituency office on some new equipment.
Okay. So good morning to the industry friends and everyone, all the dignitaries from Canada, and very good evening to our friends from India. We welcome you to Ontario, Uttar Pradesh Trade and Investment Collaboration Initiative by PSD Chamber of Commerce and Industry and ICCC Toronto. Thank you very much for joining. We have two very distinguished ministers with us. We have Mr. Victor Fideli, Honorable Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation, Trade and Chair of Cabinet, Ontario, Canada with us. And since, like Minister Fideli, I was seeing that you are also Minister of Job Creation. I'm sure that this must be really challenging task during this COVID-19 period. However, I saw some of the videos that you had answered a question in your Assembly Parliament, that you are doing a great job in creating jobs during this time as well. Thank you. And we also have, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Siddharth Nath Singh, Honorable Cabinet Minister, Micro, Small, Medium Enterprises, Investment and Export, NRI, Sericulture, Textile, Handloom, Khadi, Gramodyog, Government of Uttar Pradesh. And Mr. Siddharth Nath Singh is also the official spokesperson of Bharatiya Janata Party. He is the grandson of our second Prime Minister of India, late Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri Ji. So he has got a very good experience in all Indian politics and businesses. And we also have Ms. Apurva Srivastava, Consulate General of India, Mr. Pramod Boyle, President ICCC, and Mr. Pradeep Multani, Senior Vice President, PSD Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, Secretary General. So to start this meeting, first, I would request Mr. Multani, Senior Vice President, PSD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to give his formal welcome remarks for today's very, very important program.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ranjit Mehta. A humble request to all before I start speaking, if you could kindly put your mics on mute, please, so that there is no vibration. Thank you very much. A very good morning to our friends from Canada and to officials and friends from New Delhi and UP all over India. Welcome to the virtual conference on Ontario, Uttar Pradesh Trade and Investment Collaboration Initiative. We are delighted to have with us Mr. Siddharth Nath Singh, Honorable Cabinet Minister, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Investment and Export, NRI, Sericulture, Textile and Handloom, Khadi and Gram Udyog, Government of Uttar Pradesh. We are also honored to have with us Mr. Victor Fedeli, Honorable Minister, Economic Development, Job Creation, Trade and Chair of Cabinet, Ontario, Canada. Shrimati Apurva Srivastav, India's Consul General in Toronto. Shri Pramod Boyle, President and Board Chair, Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce. Honorable Nina Tangri, Parliamentary Secretary to Ontario Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade Promotion. We also have Mr. Navneet Kumar Sehgal, officiating Additional Chief Secretary to Government of UP, Khadi and Village Industries Department, MSME Department in Lucknow. We have Mr. Alok Kumar, officiating Additional Chief Secretary, Government of UP, Infrastructure and Industrial Development Department. Mrs. Neena Sharmaji, Secretary, Industries. We also have with us Dr. Lalit Khaitan, Mentor, UP State Chapter, PhD CCI and CMD Radico Khaitan Limited. Mr. Manish Khemka, Mr. Gaurav Prakash, Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, Secretary General, PhD CCI, members of Managing Committee, Dr. Ranjit Mehta, Principal Director, UP Chamber, PhD, Mr. Atul Srivastav, Resident Director, UP Chapter, PhD, senior officers from the state government, colleagues from industry and friends from media, and distinguished dignitaries present here. I feel honored to welcome Mr. Siddharthnath Singh, Honorable Cabinet Minister, and Mr. Victor Fedeli to this interactive virtual conference session on Uttar Pradesh, Ontario Trade and Investment Initiative. I am equally delighted to welcome Mr. Pramod Boyle and all other distinguished industry members from Canada and India. I am very thankful to all of you for showing your interest in this collaboration initiative of Ontario and Uttar Pradesh to boost trade and investment in Uttar Pradesh, India. The close ties between Canada and India relations, or Indo-Canadian relations, are the long-standing bilateral relations between Canada and the Republic of India, which are built upon a mutual commitment to democracy, pluralism, and people-to-people links. In fact, this year, right before the coronavirus impacted the global community, the trade between India and Canada rose to 62% in the past 5 years, making India one of the fastest growing export markets of Canada. Therefore, this is indeed the best time for India and Canada to improve its strategic and economic ties and to collaborate. This relationship is further strengthened with the current conflicts of countries with China, the Hawaii incident, and the positive move by Canada of respecting India's sovereignty. Education, energy, and green tech offer unlimited opportunities for collaboration between both the countries. With US dollars 3.1 billion in two-way trade between Ontario and India, 9% of Canadian exports to India are from Ontario. Canada is home to over 1.2 million persons of Indian origin who comprise more than 3% of its population. The highly educated, affluent, and industrious PIOs, one of the largest immigrant groups in Canada, are well integrated with the mainstream and serve as a strong bridge between the two great nations. The deep cultural and political ties between Canada and India are strengthened by a growing network of official dialogues, agreements, memoranda of understanding, and working groups. Proving a priority market for Canada, India is Canada's 9th largest export market and 10th largest trading partner overall. Canada's commercial priorities in India are targeted at India's policy objectives and sectors where Canada has a comparative advantage. Canada and India are undertaking bilateral negotiations toward both a comprehensive economic partnership agreement and a foreign investment promotion and protection agreement. Canada and India hold regular ministerial dialogues on trade and investment as well as energy. India's economic growth and strong bilateral ties with Canada have led to increased investor confidence and opportunities for Canadian companies. Key initiatives such as opening doors to FDI, 100 smart cities, key focus on infrastructure development, Make in India, Clean India, Digital India are critical to boost India's efforts to revitalize the economy. These initiatives have generated much interest from Canadian companies seeking opportunities in India and Indian companies exploring partnerships with Canadian companies. However, there still lies a vast potential to further strengthen links between both regions. As India continues to improve in World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index, this is an opportune time for Canadian companies to increase their investments into India and new companies to enter the Indian market, especially in Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh is the 5th largest, but happens to be the most populous state in India, with a large pool of skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled labor. The state made its entry into the top ranks of states that have become better destinations to do business recently, jumping 10 positions ahead as the second best performer, taking second position in terms of ease of doing business. Our Honorable Minister mentioned that they're targeting us, UP, to get to the #1 position shortly, and we are very confident that they shall do that. The state rose up the ranks based on its ability to better implement a range of reforms, ranging from single window clearances to easier access to information. With the investor-friendly direction under the dynamic leadership of Honorable Chief Minister Shri Yogi Adityanath Ji and ably supported by Honorable Minister Mr. Siddharth Singh Ji, the good governance initiatives complementing the inherent strengths of the state are transforming the state into a preferred investment destination. The objective of today's session is to interact with the Canadian industry to create strategic partnership between India and Canada, which will contribute to stability and prosperity of both countries in this COVID-affected world. It will be our endeavor to collaborate with industry in Canada to promote industrialization and attract investments in Uttar Pradesh. The webinar thus will shed focus on promoting and boosting FDIs in different sectors in the state of Uttar Pradesh. It will also provide a platform to strategize the solutions and way-outs to enhance and facilitate FDIs in the state. I wish this webinar a great success and once again heartily welcome all the participants. Thank you, Jai Hind, God bless India and Canada. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for bringing out the point that Uttar Pradesh has really brought fundamental transformation in ease of doing business in last 2-3 years. That is why we have seen that many people from all over the world, they are eyeing on Uttar Pradesh as a investment destination. And moreover, this particular partnership, this particular webinar between Ontario and Uttar Pradesh holds very special significance, because Uttar Pradesh being one of the most populous states at the same time in Canada, Ontario being one of the most populous states, this partnership has a great future and potential to carry on. Thank you indeed, sir, for your address. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Pramod Boyle, President of ICCC, for his address.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta. Good morning to all of those who are joining from Canada, and very good evening to our Indian friends. Welcome to this PSD Chamber and Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce joint virtual conference on Ontario, Uttar Pradesh Trade and Investment Collaboration Initiative. A very warm welcome to Minister Vic Fedeli, Ontario's Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, and also to Minister Siddharth Singh Ji, Uttar Pradesh Minister of SMME, Export Promotion, NRI, and Khadi and Vidya Industries. I also extend a very warm welcome to our Consul General here in Toronto, Ms. Apurva Srivastava. She has been one of our strongest allies in promoting the bilateral trade agenda. I also extend warm welcome to Ms. Neena Tangri and other dignitaries from Uttar Pradesh and Ontario who are also participating in the panel discussion later during the session. And my sincere gratitude to all of them for being with us this morning. Friends, as Mr. Multani alluded, Canada and India are in the process of rediscovering each other as trade partners all over again. If we see recent months, there have been many high-powered meetings between Canadian and Indian ministers. However, what is significant is that these meetings are leading to a systemic shift on the ground level in terms of trade between our economies. If we just look at the trade numbers, we have reached about 80 billion in two-way trade and investment this year. And it's only a matter of time before we are able to cross 100 billion. I was listening to Prime Minister Modi just last week when he was addressing a joint bilateral trade Invest India program, where he said that Canada-India bilateral ties are driven by shared democratic values and many common interests. And of course, trade and investment linkages are the integral part of the multifaceted relationship that we enjoy. India has political stability, investment and business-friendly policies, skilled talent pool, and despite the pandemic, continues to be a land of solutions and opportunities. India is undergoing a rapid change in mindsets as well as markets and its vibrant democracy. And conducive ease of doing business environment makes an attractive investment destination. Our chamber has been in the forefront of fostering linkages between Canada and India for the last 43 years. We have played a pivotal role in major breakthroughs in the bilateral trade relations between our countries. As the largest organization of Indo-Canadian small businesses in Canada, we create business and professional opportunities for them. And it was in recognition of our spectacular contribution to enhancing the bilateral trade ties that the government of India had honored our chamber with the Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Award in 2012. In August earlier this year, while we were devising strategies to promote bilateral trade in a post-COVID-19 era, our chamber had initiated 3 planned distinct thrust areas. The first one was to initiate connection between Canadian and Indian federal ministers to kickstart a dialogue to enhance the variety, volume, and velocity of trade by 2025. The second initiative was to connect Canadian provinces with Indian states to provide the depth, meaning, and direction to the bilateral trade relations. And third aspect was to focus on connecting the small businesses both in Canada and India to enable them mutually explore collaborations. And in the same sequence, last month, we're proud to say that we were able to bring together both the commerce ministers from the countries, Minister Mary Ng from Canada and Minister Hardeep Singh Puri from India. And today we are having the second one in the series between Uttar Pradesh and Ontario. And next month we are coming up with B2B interactions through our partners in India like PSD Chamber of Commerce and SME Chamber of India. And that initiative will continue over the months. If you look at Ontario, it is the Canada's growth engine and the largest economy. As Mr. Multani was mentioning earlier, the province has access to over 15 million population, access to both Canadian and US markets, and it contributes about 40% to Canada's GDP as a province. Under Premier Doug Ford's leadership, Ontario has emerged as an economic powerhouse. Merchandise trade between Ontario and India is about slightly over 3 billion currently, and it accounts for 1/3 of the total trade with India. We have about 50 companies, Indian companies across all sectors that have operations and investments in Ontario. Similarly, if we look at Uttar Pradesh, I think Mr. Multani gave us all the details, is the growth engine for India. UP is the 3rd largest growing economy, having access to 200 million plus population. and the investor-friendly policy direction under Chief Minister Mr. Yogi Adityanath's leadership, and the good governance initiatives that are transforming Uttar Pradesh into a preferred trade and investment destination. And I'm confident that Minister Vic Fedeli and Minister Siddharth Singh will give a new direction to the provincial and state level trade discussions that we are having today. And we look forward to participation from all the industry and government experts later during this session. So I wish the program all the success and look forward to our interaction. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goyal. You have brought out a very important point that the small businesses is the focus that you're having. And right now, both the states, even Uttar Pradesh or same way in Ontario, we need to create a lot of jobs. And that potential lies with the small businesses. And UP alone has more than around 9 million MSMEs as per records. And same way, I'm sure that Ontario also would like to, seek some opportunities to invest in Uttar Pradesh. And thank you very much for bringing out this webinar. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Ms. Apurva Srivastav, Consular General of India in Toronto. Over to you, Apurva ji.
Thank you, Honorable Ministers Shri Siddharth Singh ji and Mr. Vic Fedeli. First of all, I thank you for joining us today in this virtual meeting. I'm really honored to be part of this distinguished panel of speakers. Today, we are making a great beginning by launching Ontario-Uttar Pradesh Trade and Investment Collaboration, an initiative between two of the most populous states in Canada and India, respectively. I thank PhD Chamber of Commerce and Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce for putting this together. I must say that this initiative is really very close to my heart as it seeks to connect my home state, Uttar Pradesh, my Janma Bhoomi, with my workplace, Ontario, my Karma Bhoomi. So I'm sure these connections that we are making today will go a long way in expansion and diversification of trade and investment between Ontario and Uttar Pradesh. As we know, as has already been told, Uttar Pradesh is home to one of the largest pool of skilled manpower. It has made substantial progress in developing infrastructure, power, road, communication, transportation, and is now on its way to become a $1 trillion economy in the next 5 years. Uttar Pradesh has recently secured second position in ease of doing business among all states of India. And this has all become possible due to comprehensive reforms and business-friendly policies of the government. If we speak about Ontario, the province has been the most important and long-standing partner to nurture the multifaceted and strategic partnership between India and Canada. India and Ontario share dynamic and robust relations in trade, investment, innovation, and technology. Ontario hosts 800 million people of Indian origin who make Canada their home and who contribute to the province's prosperity. The province also hosts the large chunk of 700,000 Indian nationals working and studying in Canada. In Canada, currently we have 230,000 Indian students, most of whom study in very prominent universities in Ontario. Mr. Boyle told you the two-way trade is between Ontario and India is around 3.2 billion, which is 22% of India's overall trade with Canada. Canadian pension funds, most of which are based in Toronto, in Ontario, have invested more than $60 billion in India. In fact, Brookfield Infrastructure Partners have become the largest single institutional investor in India, and they have also the Bombardier, the Canadian company Bombardier, which is not from Ontario, but they have invested heavily in metro projects in Agra, Kanpur, and Delhi, Ghaziabad, Meerut, RRTS corridor. Government of Ontario has created a very conducive business environment in the province and has been very proactive in enhancing their relationship with India. Ontario's Premier, which is equivalent to the Chief Minister, has made India a chosen trade destination. And Ontario Minister of Economic Development, Mr. Vic Fedeli, who's with us today, has invested great effort in cultivating relationship. And he has led a trade delegation to India in 2019 last year. And we would request Mr. Fedeli to visit Uttar Pradesh during his next visit to India. And we would also be honored to welcome Minister Siddharth Singh ji to Ontario. Given the welcoming environment in both Uttar Pradesh and Ontario and several complementarities, there are ample opportunities for enhancing bilateral trade and investment between the two provinces. There are huge opportunities in IT, mobile and electronics, agriculture and food, clean technology, fintech, pharma and life sciences. Ontario's various companies have world-class technologies in all these areas, and they can be used to scale up production to provide for the most dynamic consumer market of Uttar Pradesh and from Uttar Pradesh to across India. Similarly, companies from Uttar Pradesh could also look at Ontario to establish base here to access the North American market. Canadian investments have been happening in Uttar Pradesh, but still, the Canadian Pension Fund and other investors could be facilitated through transparent single-window digital platform Nivesh Mitra for giving fast clearance for investment proposals. Ontario has world-class universities, and we could also tie up with educational institutes in Uttar Pradesh, maybe to form an incubation center to spur innovation and in turn provide the much-needed human capital to Ontario. I think there are many complementarities between the two provinces, and today's deliberations will definitely stimulate business communities on both sides to take advantage of these existing opportunities and also to create new ones. I'm confident that this session will not be a one-off event, but the beginning of several fruitful conversations. To conclude, I would just like to assure you that Consulate and the Consulate in Toronto and Vancouver and our High Commission in Ottawa is always ready to work with partners like PhD Chamber of Commerce and ICCC to strengthen this relationship. And anything to do that I can do personally for Uttar Pradesh will be entirely my privilege. I once again wish all the participants great success in their endeavors and look forward to hearing both the ministers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Apurva ji. Definitely, we have got a lot of potential in education sector as well. And I know that your Consulate General in Toronto has been very, very proactive. This I can say as per my experience leading a delegation to Canada in 2018. But this year we had a plan, but unfortunately because of this COVID, it is not possible. But we hope that we can very soon mount delegation once the things get normalized. And thank you very much indeed.
And
now, ladies and gentlemen.
Led by Siddharth Singh ji.
Yes, Honorable Minister will definitely agree for that once the things get normalized. Definitely, madam. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and honor to invite Mr. Victor Fedeli, Honorable Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation, Trade and Chair of Cabinet, Ontario, Canada, for his keynote address. Over to you, Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Mehta, and hello, everybody. Good evening. Namaste. I want to say how excited we are, Nina, our parliamentary assistant, Nina Tangri, and I are to be joining you today. Nina has been our education towards India and such a huge asset to our caucus. So we are very thrilled to be joining you today, along with our counterpart, the Honorable Siddharth Nath Singh, whose speedy recovery has been a great relief to all of us. So welcome to all of these many friends. I look at the screen and I see so many friends. It's just so wonderful. And I have to tell you, as Ontario's Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, our government understands the importance of growing the strong relationship that Ontario and India share. I almost hate to say this, but it would have been this week that we were scheduled to be back in India. We hadn't formalized it yet because we were working on our plans in March. And of course, when COVID struck, all of our travels were suspended. And Nina, you and I would have been in India with all of our friends today, by the way, would have been mid-October. So that's unfortunate, but I can't tell you how eager we both are to return to India and continue with our wonderful hosts that have been there. So Consul General, we look forward to seeing you in Toronto face-to-face soon, but we will see you all in India. You've heard me say this many times. Our government's top priority is to ensure that Ontario is open for business, open for jobs, open for investment, and open for trade. And that means that we're moving at the speed of business to identify trading partners like India, to pursue a mutually beneficial economic growth. You know, you've heard some of these numbers earlier today. India is a major economic force, the 5th largest economy in the world, 1.4 billion citizens. You're one of the fastest growing markets. And two-way trade between Canada and India did grow at a rate of 10% since 2014. In fact, in 2019, two-way trade between Ontario and India now hit almost 3.4 billion Canadian, 2.6 billion US. But 3.4 billion Canadian, it's interesting. I've talked about this before. I think the first time that I went to India as minister, I'd been there before, when somebody gave me my briefing note and showed me that it's $400 million trade between Ontario to India, exports from Ontario to India. I said, no, there must be a typo. We do 400 billion in the US. How can we only do 400 million in India? So it tells us we've got, I've used this expression, we've got a blank canvas and we're looking forward to completing that beautiful painting together, because only 1% of India's total imports come from Canada. And only 12% of Canadian exports to India are from Ontario. So that tells us we've got a great amount of work to do, and we've got wonderful people here to do this wonderful work with. So we're committed. Nina and I are committed to seeing that number grow and grow substantially. We've identified India as a priority market. We've led several successful business missions there, including the one that Nina and I were on last November. So over the course of 5 days, we led 12 Ontario business delegates. They participated in nearly 150 business-to-business meetings, site tours, networking events with hundreds of Indian companies. And it was a great opportunity for me to hold business meetings with top Indian companies like Tata Group, Tech Mahindra, ICICI Bank. And we promoted Ontario's Open for Business, Open for Jobs plan to audiences of hundreds of Indian business leaders, thanks to your great forums. Our message was well received and resulted in the announcement of VBDN Technologies. Their new facility in Kitchener-Waterloo created 200 engineering jobs in Ontario. Seneca College's signing of several memorandums of understandings, which demonstrated Ontario's strengths in skill development and the training. It showed us that those are in high demand. The advancement of a formal partnership with states in India, such as Karnataka, and our signing of a new MOU with NASSCOM, your largest not-for-profit industry association, which represents the country's US dollars, 180 billion technology industries, with a membership of over 2,200 businesses in India. So that's about a year ago. And today, we as a global community and the global economy, we face all these new challenges as we recover from the pandemic brought on by COVID-19. We're genuinely committed to Ontario's safe and gradual economic recovery, and that has meant pivoting really quickly to transition all of our export development activities to a digital format. In fact, just recently, we've held several successful online delegations to virtual sessions, from the annual Farnborough Show, which would have been in the UK this year, to the Detroit Auto Show. All have been done virtually. And today, look at this opportunity to connect with our counterparts from Uttar Pradesh in another great example of our international outreach efforts. As Ontario safely reopens and our economy recovers, it's more important than ever to explore new partnerships and opportunities to increase trade and investment that leverage strengths in India and Ontario. We will not let this pandemic stop us from looking at export and import opportunities with India. For instance, Ontario is Canada's largest clean tech sector. It's really well positioned to collaborate with India on sustainability opportunities, such as India's National Smart Cities mission to build 100 smart cities. We know more work needs to be done to ensure that Ontario is open for business. It's a cornerstone of our Economic Recovery Act. A centerpiece of that plan is a new investment attraction agency. You'll hear a lot more about this. It's called Invest Ontario. And that will position the province as an attractive investment destination, and it'll focus on key sectors that are primed for growth and expansion. So Invest Ontario will build upon a really solid foundation to ensure that we emerge from COVID even stronger. And though through our Open for Business agenda, we're building bridges, not barriers to trade. We're supporting our small and medium-sized businesses with market access and intelligence through our trade and investment offices in New Delhi and Mumbai, as a for instance. I spoke with both of them this morning, by the way, both of our TIOs there. We had a great conversation. They can expand and export to India with confidence. We're providing valuable market intelligence and support services for Ontario companies and introducing suppliers to incoming buyers from India as well. So our businesses have the tools that they need to diversify their trade partnerships and maximize their global opportunities. We're giving companies access to an international talent pool through the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. And that means our workforce has the skills needed to meet the demands of an evolving economic landscape. And we're directly connecting businesses in India and Ontario together to create new deals through targeted trade and investment missions to strengthen the economic corridor between our two jurisdictions. Look, today's get-together here, today's conference, is a great example of our work. We really thank all of you at the Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce for hosting this important opportunity and to strengthen the relationship between Ontario and UP as we move forward. I want to say thanks to all of you, especially Pramod, for your leadership role in your great work with the ICCC. And we really appreciate all of you being here today and giving us this opportunity to speak. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We really welcome that you said that you are building bridges, not the barriers. That I can say, based on my experience interacting with many people there, those who are working in Canada, and especially my son who is also working in Toronto. So after studying from there, so I can say that how brilliantly, how nicely you people are really taking care of these things and ease of doing business, whatever you have talked. It's great to know from the horse's mouth. And thank you very much indeed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to invite Mr. Siddharth Nath Singh, Honorable Cabinet Minister, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Investment, Export, NRI, Sericulture, Textile and Handloom, Khadi and Gramodyog, Government of Uttar Pradesh, for his keynote address for this today Ontario Uttar Pradesh Trade and Investment Collaboration Initiative. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ranjit. Honorable Minister Victor Federley, and we have our Consul General, Ms. Apurva Srivastava, and I see Nina Tangriji, whom I'm meeting for the first time, but that too virtually. And as the Minister did mention that you all were supposed to be in India, but when you decide, when there is a will, there is a way. You couldn't come due to pandemic, but the will was there, so you are here. Virtually, we all are here. And I'm lucky that I have joined this virtual get-together so that we can all share, our views and see how the Ontario Uttar Pradesh Trade and Investment collaboration can take place, and we can improve upon that. And I'm grateful to Mr. Pramod Boyle, who has been working hard on it, and also my friends. There are many friends of mine from the PhD Chamber of Commerce who are sitting here, and there are other panelists whom it will be a long list. So, but I'm grateful to all of you to attend this webinar and see how we can generate more volumes of business between Ontario and Uttar Pradesh, between Canada and India. And as the minister was saying that he was a bit surprised that it is not 400 billion, but 400 million. And the figures you were giving is 1% of the imports and 12% export from Ontario. So I think these figures also gives us an opportunity because they are low figures. and with the global supply chain disturbances that are taking place, I'm sure if we build rightly and focus our energies with our policies which are open, we all can work towards it and ensure that these numbers and these percentage can go up. So I would, before I come and dwell upon the synergies that we can create and the areas that we can create, I would certainly like to little emphasize on how the Uttar Pradesh policy making has been. Now, certainly the world is moving, and particularly after the pandemic, everybody is realizing globally that there is the sustainability concept cannot be ignored. It cannot be just the price, but it needs to be sustainable. And that's where the relationships are going to be built in coming years. And therefore, Uttar Pradesh, well, that's in 2019, before the pandemic, our Chief Minister, Mr. Yogi Adityanath ji, had decided that we will hold a special session in the memory of Mahatma Gandhi ji on 2nd of October, that is his birth anniversary. And we held for 3 days non-stop session of our assembly, where on 17 points, 16 applicable to UP also, we discussed thread and bare how we make the sustainable development goals related to those 16 ministries. Based on that, we had a discussion with one of the premier Indian institutes of management, where it was a 3-day session of the bureaucrats and the ministers, and the chief minister himself sat through. And we then came up with a joint, I would say, we call it in Hindi, we call it a manthan, but a lot of exercise when it went through. And we came up with a policy making guidelines. And that is where it helped us when the pandemic came in. Our chief minister was the first. He said, let's start addressing it. This is a big crisis and the world is just going to change over. So we had already introduced in 2017, based on the employment and investment, our industrial policy. We came up with our 21 sectoral policies, but then we decided they all need to be revisited, and we revisited them. Now the revisit was with the guidelines that it has to be the best in India among all the federal states we are talking about, and at the same time equally competitive or better than the South Asian challenges that we face for attracting investment. And I'm happy my team, they are already here, they're listening. Both are very senior government officials of the rank of Additional Chief Secretary, Mr. Alok Kumar and Navneet Saigal, and along with them is the Secretary Industries. They all are hearing that. They all worked overnight and they brought up policies, particularly in food processing, in electronic sector, the textile sector, the pharmaceutical sector, where I can proudly say as a minister that they are not only the best in India, but they are the most competitive, or we can actually match some of the countries which are very competitive, particularly in Southeast Asia. So all that put together, but at the same time, the focus was never lost on the ease of doing business. This is something that the Prime Minister has been driving from day one. And we all know whenever India was spoken, and particularly Uttar Pradesh was spoken, it was always said there is a red tapeism. I think the concept of red tapeism to red carpet was transformed by nobody but our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. And we took his guidance in converting Uttar Pradesh also from red tapeism into a red carpet. And that's how we delivered, and therefore the net result has been that Uttar Pradesh today we stand in India jumping 10 ranks, and we stand number 2 in ease of doing business in India. And I can assure you the way we are going, we will not be the number one in India, but we will be not the number one state in India, but we will be ranked much higher. And because as Ontario is the economic engine, UP is also the backbone of India. And because of our size, 240 million people, and the land size, geographical area, like Ontario, you are bigger than Texas and double the size of California. If we were the country, which we don't want to, but we are part of the federal structure, but just for the heck of it, if we are a country, then we would be the 5th largest country of the world. So that's our size. So length and breadth of Uttar Pradesh is good enough to take many countries in. So therefore, we worked hard. We brought in the ease of doing business. We brought in a single window system, which is highly spoken by the various ministries of Government of India. That is the Nivesh Mitra, that is single window system. And I would say, the percentage of problems that are resolved through this portal is phenomenal. And then during the COVID, because we all realized that it is important to not just to look for the big industries or the big investment. It is very important now that the SMEs needs to be strengthened. And you need to bring innovation and technology. You need to give a platform to the SMEs that they can come, it should be plug and play system. So we then created through the portal, online application, and within 72 hours, you get a no objection certificate from the government of Uttar Pradesh that you can start your industry. So these are some of the reforms, labor reforms. Labor reforms were there for last 100 years. It was the British Raj, which was, legacy that we were running through. Now Uttar Pradesh became the first state of India where we said only the salary, the wages, minimum wages, and the number of hours needs to be intact and protected. The rest needs to go away. Many states have now followed, but these are some of the big reforms that Uttar Pradesh has taken, apart from bringing certain structural and investment policy changes within our 21 sectoral policies. So I have another, which is a big area, which I would say should be of great interest to Ontario and Canada. That is the defense corridor. The Prime Minister gave 2 defense corridors, and these defense corridors, one is in the north, that is with Uttar Pradesh, and the other is with south in Tamil Nadu. But UP Defense Corridor is definitely the largest. We held the Defense Def Expo recently in Lucknow, just before the COVID, and we had a phenomenal success, considered to be the best Def Expo so far held. And there were many investment proposals that we received from various countries, and they all are in the process of maturing. And therefore, I would say there is a great scope for defense and aerospace between Ontario and Uttar Pradesh, which we could be looking as part of our synergies. Now, I can only say that there are now opportunities which we can really work upon. I wouldn't say there are any more challenges, at least from the Uttar Pradesh side. We have laid the foundation. We haven't let this time period of COVID for us to relax. We have worked, we have taken that time period as a time for corrections on many areas. And therefore, today we are in a position to say we are in the race. We are a great investment destination of India. And proudly, I can say as a Minister of Investment that during the COVID period, while we were reforming our systems and bringing structural changes, from 10 countries, we have received $1.5 billion worth of investments. They have given a letter of intent, and they are big companies. There's one from Canada too in the food processing. So there is a lot of interest, and that is by just sitting and doing a virtual webinars or discussions with many of them. There is a area of interest, I would say, I can say that now in India, the minister federally did mention about Karnataka and down south, which certainly they were and they will remain. They are part of us, and any investment coming to India as an Indian citizen, as a minister of the state, I'm very proud. But yes, there's always a competition, so I would love the investment not to go to any other state, but to come to my state only. Like Apurva Shrivastava is sitting there. She will take extra pride when investment goes to Uttar Pradesh from Ontario, because that's her home state. But she'll be always very happy that it is coming to India. So that should be our endeavor, and that remains our endeavor. But being a competitive federal system is always good, I feel. And that is what a good democracy, a vibrant democracy promotes. So electronics is a great area. And I'm confident that in recent times, during the COVID, something very important is going to be shifting out from China, and we will take pride in saying that big electronics, hubs have been brought from China to Uttar Pradesh. So, and I see a lot of synergy if we look into the food processing. You have a great food processing industry. We need technology. Our policies, you can look at it, and I don't see, as you being the minister in Ontario and I'm being here with my chief minister's blessing, if something looks impossible, it cannot be made possible. And I'm sure we can make possible, as long as there is a good intent and we want to push in that direction. So food processing is there. Apparel is something we are already exporting, but not in large numbers to Canada. That could be a big area for where we should focus. You are one of the top 10 world companies in pharmaceutical are sitting in Ontario. Now we are coming up with pharmaceutical parks. That's a new area of thrust that UP is giving. I would request that through the ICC and PhD, also along through the Consul General, we can promote a collaboration in that area of pharmaceutical, because that could be a big area, and we are bringing in parts. You are extremely good, which I'm aware of, in robotics, and particularly in the medical systems. We are coming with medical parks, and 4 of them we are bringing. So that could be another area where we can collaborate together. Well, education was mentioned, and that's been always in my mind, because many of our students do go to Canada. I feel because of these pandemic crises, there's going to be always the credit squeeze to individuals which will come about. Now, can we still give them together, if we think, an education where this credit squeeze can be met with? But the children, be it in India, and particularly since more go from India, they get the best of the education. So that's the, they are the actual equity that we call it, because they're going to build the relationship further. And if they grow, they are definitely going to look Canada and no other country. That's an investment that Canada would be also making with the Indian students. So that's an area. I'm very keen as a minister, and my chief minister is equally very keen to develop a MRO for the aerospace, maintenance, repair, operations centers, because India is, in the aviation sector, we are absolutely growing. Perhaps the best growth in the world globally is in India now happening. Despite, well, we can take away the COVID period, but the numbers would suggest so. Now, the passenger traffic in India post-COVID was growing almost by 22 to 25 to 30%. And we need more and more aircrafts. The aircrafts are all coming, but we don't have a repair centers, maintenance repair. All the aircrafts are going out of India. Imagine. Billions of dollars, $100 billion worth of aircrafts have been already ordered, but they all go out of India. We have 4 international airports within Uttar Pradesh. I have 11 low-frill airports for the connectivity, all under operations. Tourism is bound to increase in Uttar Pradesh with those who understand. Maybe Minister may have heard, because of the Ram temple, like it's a Vatican for the Hindus. So that coming up now, and by 2023, that will throw up international tourism. We have the boat circuit, which we have opened up. And next month we are opening. And for that, we created an international airport. So there is already a flux of, South Korea, Japan, Thailand, Indonesia, they all want to come to. Otherwise, they had to come to Delhi, Mumbai, and then take a flight, and that connectivity was no. But now things are changing in Uttar Pradesh. The expressways have changed. We have, in last 3 years, Uttar Pradesh has not one, but many expressways that we have brought in. So all those things put together is the infrastructure development in Uttar Pradesh. So tourism is bound to go up. So therefore, I feel that a good vision is to have an MRO, and we are going to come up. We are coming up with along with the Zurich airport, the largest or the biggest Asia's airport next to Delhi airport. That is in Jewar, and that's changing the landscape, the investment landscape, the living landscape of that area, which is about 100 kilometers or 70 kilometers off Delhi, that NCR. And that is where something we are also planning to come up with a financial hub of India. Mumbai is the financial hub. There is no other financial hub. We have already started working of creating a financial hub, which will be near to that airport. And you have a great, financial strength, and you have a mix, I would say, of growth, of financial growth, and you incorporate, as you mentioned, the technologies. So technology in the financial sector, and with your collaboration between us, we can really create a big financial hub. The Singapore government is also looking at it. So there is a lot of discussions going about, but this is the time. The first who comes is always takes the lead. So I can, as a minister, from my behalf of my government, we can open a lot of avenues, but I think it's always nice to bounce avenues, but it is good to be focused. After throwing avenues, we need to be focused, and therefore my suggestion to the minister would be, along with the Chambers of Commerce and the Council General, that we create a task force from here. You are a province, we are a state, we can create first an MOU, but my idea of MOU sometimes just it doesn't mature. So the best is to create a task force. You can always have an MOU, but let's have a task force, so that through that task force, when both the ministers, we both meet along with our administrative staff, we are actually talking about the agenda through the task force, what has been achieved. Accountability is always must if we want good deliveries to come in. That's the way I look upon, and that's the way I would love to work. But I can only say that in the end, that it's been a pleasure to share my views, to listen to you all in this webinar. And I give an open invitation, and as early as possible, if the Minister, Victor Federley, wants to step out of Ontario and Canada, the first destination should be Uttar Pradesh. That would be my request to you. And it will be always an honor to receive you and your other members of the delegation. And trust me, you will love Uttar Pradesh, not because of us only, that we believe in red carpet, but you will love because our people are great. And one example I'm already leaving, that is of Apurva Shrivastava there. So you can now understand that how good we are. And certainly I would invite all your companies in various sectors, and definitely I forgot to mention that you have a, which you mentioned about the green technology, but that is the water sector. You have done some phenomenal work. Your technologies are unbeatable. It is something which people don't know much. People don't even know that the first, the ISRO, the Baba Atomic Space Research, the missile or the rocket came from the MDA. That's the long history between India and Canada. So Canada is very rich, very, very rich in technology and innovations. You have great startups. We have started our startups here. The government is very focused. You please help us to create great incubators, technology incubators. We will give our institutes to you. And we have a budget from the government of Uttar Pradesh to support these incubators. It's only these things will take off if we can have a good tie-up. The words won't just match, we need to match the words. So my request would be, and a suggestion at this stage is to have a task force. I would request Dr. Ranjit Mehta to think about it also. Others, PhD, Pramod Boyle ji is there. If you all please think about it and create a working task force. And I think we will be in a position like we created for the Singapore. Not many, 3-4 from our side, 3-4 from your side. And they are focused now, they're building the agenda. So that could be the way forward. Thank you very much once again for giving this opportunity for us to present to Uttar Pradesh. And I look forward of a great engagement between Ontario and Uttar Pradesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hear me? I don't know if you could hear me, Minister or Dr. Mehta. My video, it says here, you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. So I don't know what happened, but if it can be turned back on, I would appreciate it. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Thank you for getting my message. I sent a chat message as well. I just stopped. So I wasn't ignoring you, Minister. I was listening to every word, especially when you talked about the MRO. I have breakfast every Sunday with somebody who is retired now, who owned a very large MRO, 350 employees. So that's for us in Ontario, that's a large size company. I can't wait now to see him on Sunday for our weekly breakfast and mention to him about the fact that you do not have an MRO there at this exciting new facility. But that quite surprises me. But it also presents great opportunities for some of our colleges as well. Canadore College and other Canadore colleges in my home in North Bay, but there are other colleges as well who train students. We have, I might be a bit wrong, but I think at least 200, I could be wrong, students from China that come here every year to study to get their maintenance and repair apprentice certificates. So this could be a genuine opportunity that you have presented that a task force could actually look at. Hint, hint, Nina. Sorry to interrupt, Dr.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for actually presenting the plethora of opportunities that are in Uttar Pradesh. I'm sure they are mouth-watering for any potential investor, especially from Canada. And to really, take the leaf out of both the ministers' speech, I would just say that Honorable Minister, Mr. Siddharth Nath Singh ji, he said that in fact, Uttar Pradesh has really moved from red tapeism to red carpet. And Minister federally said that they are actually moving from barriers to bridges. So now this is the time to create that bridge and spread with the red carpet between Uttar Pradesh and Ontario. So this is what, and by making this task force, that will be a great idea. We have we have few questions with us. First, I would like to, first we have a question from Mr. Pradeep Multani, who is the Senior Vice President of PhD CCI. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta. The question is for Honorable Minister, Mr. Victor Fedeli. Your Excellency, does Ontario have a strategy to develop collaborative models with global entities that can leverage the province's advantage in high-tech spheres such as advanced manufacturing, life sciences and technology?
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have a brand new investment agency, Invest Ontario, that will be opening. And this, as we begin to reopen and recover, we think it's even more critical now to show that Ontario is a top-tier destination. And we're going to do that, Pradeep, through our Invest Ontario. It's going to be, I mentioned to last year when we were in at the chamber, I think I mentioned it to Apurva. I'm going to steal that from red tape to red carpet, but I obviously can't use it with you. This is your, so I am going to use it in the States, by the way. Thank you very much for that one. So instead of red tape to red carpet, we do talk about building bridges instead of barriers, and we talk about a white glove service. And so this investment agency, Invest Ontario, it is going to be our a key investment destination for people. It's going to make Ontario more competitive. It's going to send a strong signal to investors that we're open for business. It will be outside of government, an outside agency managed by business people who work at the speed of business. They'll be out there hunting deals, but more importantly, I think they'll be out there closing deals. That's the purpose of it. They're going to focus on advanced manufacturing, life sciences, and IT. All three are sectors that we have a globally competitive advantage on those three. And so they'll really be about structuring deals. The people that we're bringing in, it hasn't opened yet. It'll open in January. We're just putting the board together now. But it will really be all about structuring deals where they can talk about the many benefits of Ontario's quality of life, highly skilled talent pool, strong innovation sector, our open immigration programs, our training, our skilled trades. So I hope that gives you a bit of an idea of what our plans are for January.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. So now, Mr. Pramod Boyle, President of Indo-Canadian Chamber, would like to ask a question.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta. I would, first of all, before I even ask my question, appreciate all the opportunities that Mr. Singh presented. There are several areas that he mentioned, starting from defense and aerospace, tourism, the financial hub that the government is looking to set up in the NCR, and the pharma park and the medical park. But I think the foremost that I'm looking at is his suggestion to create a task force to actually start working towards a specific goal and agenda. And I think that's a welcome move. And I would strongly encourage that if PhD, CCI and our chamber can take it up further along with the consulate here, and then try and see in coordination with Mr. Fidelis' office to see how best we can come up with something to move on in this direction.
Certainly.
Mr. Singh, you mentioned a lot of opportunities in several sectors, and we also talked about manufacturing support under the new investment policy. So if I may ask, when global investors or manufacturing companies from Canada were to look at opportunities in UP, especially in the manufacturing sector, so, and if they are looking at the landscape of other opportunities available with either different options outside India, specifically in India, with other states. So is there anything that we can talk about that UP would offer over and above or exclusively that probably is the best option for companies that are looking to invest in Uttar Pradesh?
Well, as I said, we have for 21 sectors, we have sectoral policies. We have an umbrella that's an industrial investment and employment policy, but each sector gives certain incentives and so as to attract investment. Now that is based on how competitive we are within the country, and if we have to attract them not to move to Southeast Asia, how competitive we become with them. So certainly there would be, when you are comparing, we do become competitive. To give another example is, for example, electronics. Now, the electronics policy is now very aggressively Karnataka and Tamil Nadu are pursuing. Okay. But when we looked at it, we said, how do we become better? And to just give an example, in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, they don't give on the land, if investment in the land and building and capital, on the machinery, they don't include land and building, but we do include, and we have a flat. But in Tamil Nadu, in Karnataka, they don't give, but in Tamil Nadu, they just give on small percentage on land building. But we have a flat. We say we'll give it to you. So that, you know, and therefore we have policies, which ones, when you study it, you will realize it, that they are very competitive. Then we do hold one big advantage is, and that is we are the largest consumer state. We are manufacturing, but we are the 240 million people in a state. Imagine what is going to be happening to your GST, the tax refunds. You can't match, no state can match to us. So these are advantage. And when we talk about Canada or any other, we have created we have created 5 desks, dedicated desks within the government of Uttar Pradesh. For example, we have Canada and US desk, which is headed by our additional chief secretary, Mr. Navneet Saigal. Then we have, for example, similarly we have for the Japan desk, we have the South Korea desk. So like that, we have European Union. So we have desks which are dedicated with a team to help them, handhold them. And like Minister Federley was mentioning, Invest Ontario, we also have created Invest UP. So, so that we bring together under the chairmanship of the Chief Minister. I'm just the Vice Chairman, but he is the Chairman. He holds the meetings on almost bi-weekly. So, things do need to move. Why? And different ministers and different departments, their principal secretaries, they are brought in together. The problem needs to be addressed there and there, and so that the clearance happens. Even to the level of those meetings, the district level industry officer under the district magistrate or the collector is also attending there, because some of the problems do relate to the ground. They need to, so there is, as I said, I think UP has converted this crisis, particularly during the pandemic, into an opportunity. We have taken the lead that yes, things can happen, and we will continue moving this way.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We are just out of time, but we have a question from audience. He says that how can we get help if NRI wishes to do investment in social projects for poor people? My main question is on ease of doing these projects. We have a charity trust in the name of my Martyr brother, Lieutenant Colonel Nitin Bhatia Memorial Trust, and they are planning to do some investment for the poor people in Uttar Pradesh.
One thing which is common between Minister Federley and myself, under our name, we have too many portfolios. So we are just not the minister for one. But therefore, if you see under my portfolio, I'm the minister for NRI. So yes. I'm the man responsible. Ask him to shoot off to me on my email, and I'll address that question. You won't have any problem, Lieutenant.
Right, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Mr. Boyle, do you have any question, or we close this session?
No, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, but
Yes.
looking at the time, we need to wrap up the first session to get on to the second one to have detailed discussion. And I really appreciate all of you, and especially the ministers, both the ministers, for being here and giving us the opportunity to discuss some of the subjects. And of course, we need to take it forward to get some of these things in the pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ministers and Madam Apurva Srivastava ji, and of course Neena ji is going to be with us and all other dignitaries. Now we have a time to start this another session. So then I'll invite Mr. Saurav Sanyal, the Secretary General of PSD Chamber, to give a formal vote of thanks to entire panelists of this evening. So thank you, sir. So thank you for your time indeed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are preparing for the next session. I would request Mr. Satish Srivastava, CMD, Linash Group, Mr. Shri Lal Gupta, MD, BNSR Group Company, Honorable Neena Tangri, Parliamentary Secretary to Ontario Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade Promotion, Dr. Aditya Jha, Indo-Canadian industrialist and investor, who are on the panel this evening. And to start, what I will do is maybe for initial 3 minutes, I would request first Mr. Satish Srivastava, CMD, Nilansh Group, to express his thoughts. Just 3 minutes each. Then we have some questions to the panel. Mr. Satish Srivastava is there? Okay. So then we have Mr. Shri Lal Gupta, MD, BNSR Group Company. Mr. Gupta, over to you.
Yeah, can you hear me, boss?
Yes, yes.
Good evening, everybody. In fact, and good morning to our brothers and sisters from Canada. In fact, my expertise. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
My expertise is in crop protection, chemicals, and power equipment manufacturing. But I would confine my discussion only to agri-related sector, because food security is the major task before all of us. In fact, I would be very specific to suggest, because I have seen all the deliberation and discussion so far, that in agri sector, we feel that since Canada is a dynamic hub of agri sector driven technologies, fastest growing segment in Canadian agriculture is organic products. We understand that there are more than 1,500 registered organic food producers in Canada. There are well-evolved organic agriculture regulations wherein there is mandatory certification of product. And this is the area which we need to work in UP. We need quality organic certifying agencies. We need quality labs which can take, testing services for detection of adulteration, to check pesticide residues and heavy metals. Canadian industries can work with us in this field. There is enormous scope in development in this sector in UP. And beside, you would be knowing that UP is doing a lot to promote food processing industry and cultivation of medicinal plants. To grow organic farming, 75% grant is given for biofertilizer, biopesticides, and bioagents, and other micronutrients also. 25% capital subsidy is given in case of food processing industry. 50% subsidy is being provided for cold chains, and no taxes and duties on land transfer as far as food processing industries are concerned. There is interest subsidy up to the 7% points. And this is unprecedented support. And we call upon captains of industry in Canada to explore huge possibilities in this sector also.
Your voice is very low. Your voice is very low. You need to have your...
Yes.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it okay now?
Yes.
So, and there is one more field we are looking for a collaboration with, because, you know, as I said earlier, that Canada is a hub of agri-sector related modern technologies. That is software-based solution for farmers. This pandemic has taught us, you know, the agricultural scientists, agriculture experts cannot go to each and every agricultural site to predict the condition of soil, the problem with the crop. You know, there are the solutions wherein the farmers can take photographs of those crops, and that AI-based software predicts that what is the solution they should go for. And I am given to understand that Canada is doing phenomenally well in those counts, and we will have to have necessary inputs on that part. Besides that, sir, as said by Minister, I do suggest that sector-specific nodal points should be made both on our side and Ontario side, wherein we can get a quality, credible information to capitalize what we are looking for.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for putting up your points, because we have Honorable Neena Tangri, Parliamentary Secretary to Ontario. She would like to address some of your questions that you have raised. Over to you, Ms. Neena.
Thank you very much. And first of all, I really want to thank Pramod ji from ICCC and you, Dr. Mehta, PhD Chamber of Commerce, Consul General, of course, Apurva Srivastava. She's always been such a key person in bringing us all together. And of course, all of the panelists here today. It was very interesting listening to the conversation and the specifics by the Honourable, of course, Siddharth Nath Singh and Honourable Vic Fideli, talking about how we here in Ontario can work together with Uttar Pradesh and finding ways to do more trade together. And I think it was a good part of the conversation was we can't only always depend on the larger corporations, but to work a lot more with small and medium enterprises and do a lot more work that way, because in Ontario alone, about 90% of the employment here is by small and medium enterprises and not the large corporations. So I think that's extremely good. And I do apologize, Mr. Gupta, it was very difficult for me to hear you. So I wasn't able to catch all of what you were saying. 2.5 years ago, I had the opportunity to visit Varanasi, UP, and I met with the Chief Minister, Shri Yogi Adityanath, and was very interested in some of the conversations on how he wanted to take Uttar Pradesh forward. And this was prior to me being elected. And he spoke a lot about the infrastructure and some of the changes that he wanted to see. And certainly in the aviation field, a lot of what he spoke about in agriculture. I think in aviation, he was saying that everybody in Uttar Pradesh should be able to reach another part of Uttar Pradesh by plane within 1 hour. And it was for a fixed price of something like 2,500 rupees. So everybody had that opportunity. And it was very forward thinking, a lot of the things that I was hearing from him. And so definitely something very, something that I brought back, and I actually spoke to, then we were in opposition. So I brought that information back then. Excuse me. But we need to do a lot more as far as bilateral trade with India as a whole, and I think with Uttar Pradesh, as you heard from Minister Fideli, I think it's a host of opportunity. I mean, we look at it, we have so little trade right now that to me is just a huge opportunity for us to do a lot of business. And we look at why would somebody come from India, UP, and invest in Ontario? Why would somebody do that? But there's many, many reasons. And one of the best reasons is our talent. So if a company is looking to open or grow here in Ontario, we have 44 public universities and colleges and 50,000 STEM grads every year. So just think about that. When you think of all of the people that we're churning out of our universities and colleges, and India, we know, is a great education hub where education is a top priority for most families. And many of those students are coming here and studying here in Ontario. And we've seen a lot of those students graduate and now move into the working field and doing extremely well and very successful. And I think that is a great opportunity for us to use a lot of that talent that is graduating, to use them to help us work with India. If they've come from there, they know India better than we do. And they could actually be that part of that task force that we're putting together. And it sounds like on both sides, from Ontario and UP, that I think, Pramod, perhaps we could look at putting that task force together. It seemed to have an interest. And I've read many memorandums of understanding, and unfortunately, many of them don't go very far. So I think to have something a little more critical, a little more forward thinking and more active, like a task force, to make sure that we do follow through. Now, the new Invest Ontario agency that's coming about, we're almost there. In a few months, it will be open. And their job is literally just to look at great jurisdictions like Uttar Pradesh and see what are the opportunities directly. And I think this is a great start to doing that. But something that we here in Ontario and Canada, I think as a whole, is when we look at our innovative ecosystem. So you have business, you have academia, so the education facilities, and government, all working hand in hand. And I think that's something that we haven't seen enough of across many jurisdictions. So when I, as the parliamentary assistant or Minister for Delhi, when we have our great companies and we're looking to have either them invest in other countries, export, or bring other investment to Ontario, we should be able to have the ability to say, I back that company. I stand behind that company because they're true, they're tried, they have a great product. And I think that's something that we've been lacking in many, many years. And it's something that we as government officials should do more of. So that, doing that, when you look at the tech sector and the tech hub, in North America, in the IT sector, we are the second largest in the whole of North America behind California. So think about that. So when a company is coming from Uttar Pradesh or India or anywhere else, when they look at where they would like to grow or where they would like to open a business or a manufacturing plant, they say, well, if I'm going to do it in Ontario, why? So we look at, one, our competitive business costs. I've spoken about our talent and our ecosystem, but also like energy costs, the costs of doing business as a whole, but our access to the global market. So we have, because of our trade agreements, so the United States, Canada, a new agreement, so NAFTA 0.2 as we sometimes call it, you have access to the United States market. We have our Trans-Pacific Partnership, so the Asian markets, but you probably have a lot of bilateral agreements already directly with those. Europe as well, we have many trade agreements with Europe and other countries. In South America, something I'm not sure if India does a lot of business with South America, but we have some great trade agreements, and our proximity and our locale to South America gives you the opportunity to export your products from Ontario. And when you think about our diversity, we welcome people from over 150 countries to come and settle here. We speak over 200 languages. So when you have a company that's looking to expand or look globally, when you have the ability to have people that can work for you, that can speak up to 200 languages, I think that's a huge plus. So when we think about all of that, and I heard a lot of conversations about agriculture, and I know when I was visiting India, and I spoke to some farmers when I was there, and I came back and I spoke to our Ministry of Agriculture here on ways that we can put some businesses together. I found some really good opportunities, and something that sparked me a little bit when I was in India, and this was in Punjab, and he says that they came to Ontario, they met with a farmer, and they are importing semen from cows so that they could have the pure milk that could be brought about by that. That was very interesting, something I'd never heard of before. So ways of agriculture that we see there, I think there's a lot of opportunities that we can do things together. Now, part of my portfolio, one of the main parts of my portfolio is life sciences. So we heard about medical technology. Now we just, we're finishing off, I think yesterday, our MedTech conference, which was supposed to be hosted here in Toronto this past couple of weeks. And what we've seen, of course, with COVID is we've actually put the industry at the forefront and said, okay, we need to deal with COVID. We need more ventilators. We need other medical supplies, personal protective equipment, something many of us had never heard of prior to COVID, and how we want to make sure that we can have sufficient supplies globally. So that was something that's been challenging and still is a challenge, I think, in many areas. But I think we also touched on pharmaceuticals. Now, that's also part of my portfolio. My riding, my constituency, I have a very large number of biopharmaceutical companies. And so I do a lot of work with them. And we had an issue in the sense that we were very worried when COVID began that we would not have all the medications that we needed, because many of the medications are imported from other countries. And India is one of the larger places where we import our medications from. So I want to thank you, all of those from India, for ensuring that that supply continued. It was something we were very concerned about, but that supply, we didn't have an issue, even though we only gave people 30-day supply at a time. We have now put it back to 90 days because we didn't want our seniors to continue to have to go out to pharmacies. But India really stepped up and made sure that that those supplies or those ingredients were still coming to Canada. So that was very, very important for us. But I do apologize again, Mr. Gupta. I was unable to hear you. So the questions that you were proposing, I could not hear them to speak directly to them. I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview of what I've worked with. Myself, personally, my parents were born in India. They moved to the UK back in the 50s. I was born in England and came to Canada, and I've lived here for 36 years now. But I do go back to India. My husband was born there. And I go back 2 to 3 times every year. So I have a very passion for going to India. I do a lot of charitable work myself there. And that passion, and when I visited with Minister Fideli last year and previously, we've been together in the past, we saw massive opportunities in the business world, massive opportunities where we can work together hand in hand. Uttar Pradesh and Ontario, of course, being the largest of both countries as far as state and provinces go. I think there's so much that we can all do together, and I'm certainly looking forward to moving to the next step. I think this has been a great introduction for all of us. And I think the next step is for us to really get working on that task force to do more together. So thank you very much for inviting me today to take part and participate. And thank you to all the panelists and for putting this together.
Thank you, Neena ji. Request you to stay there, and we really look forward to this task force, which is absolutely essential for taking this partnership forward. And we have now Dr. Aditya Jha, Indo-Canadian industrialist. Dr. Jha, right? I would like to, because you are a very special person among today's panelists. You are in a unique position of having business interest, both in Canada and in India. What can each learn from each other, Canada from India and India from Canada? And also tell us, as a global investor, what do you want on the ground before you invest your money into any project?
So first of all, thank you very much, and especially to Pramod Boyle for inviting me. I am one of his advisors on the board. I have offices, I shouldn't say offices, I have employees now because all our offices are closed here. We have employees in Mumbai, in Delhi and Ahmedabad, and now they have all gone back to wherever they wished. And in March, when the lockdown started, I thought maybe this business is toast. Because I have a technology company. We have employees in 8 countries and customers in more than 100 countries. Because of the nature of the business, not that it sounds very big, we are still very, very small company, but it is our customer base is large because of the subscription business. I think we have a very unique paradigm. We all know that there's a paradigm shift. We all are used to the traditional way of growing business. We are using technology. Our revenues eventually increased. In month of July, our revenues increased 40% more than ever in last 3 years. My head office is out of Washington, DC. I have also served in various chamber initiatives in Canada. I was national convener for Canada-India Foundation and once presented to the standing committee of the Senate of Canada. And what I find, we all really, this idea of task force is phenomenal, by the way, phenomenal idea. I hope it takes off. and involves people who can come up with some concrete actions. But the entire story of the bilateral trade, and I'm going to say something a little harsh, has been of PowerPoint presentation. Beautiful, beautiful landscape that the India and Canada can do this, but it has been all through the PowerPoint, not the project plan. And I think till we transition from PowerPoint presentation and the visits that visit from one country to other country to that project plan, I would say that please look at the growth of the bilateral revenue from these two countries where there's tremendous potential. So that aspect really needs to be analyzed. Why year after year it is very incremental in nature and very minuscule incremental in nature. Technology in Canada is a big contributor, very, very big contributor. Ontario and Quebec is more than 50% of the 220 billion revenue we generate from technology. You may already know that the average salary in the tech sector in Canada is $80,000 compared to the average salary in rest of the sector is about $50,000. That kind of difference. Our rate of growth in Canada is bigger than America in terms of the technology growth, 30% year after year. So there is a tremendous opportunity. Today, our employee, like a small company like mine, we are looking to hire. I am really struggling in India to find the right resource. I wish that the government agency, like yourself, government or semi-government, they could facilitate, because employees of Uttar Pradesh are all over India. They could come back to their hometown and work from there for companies like ours. So I would say one is that how we can find employees located. Second one is why we have to register our company in Delhi or Mumbai or Bangalore. Why it cannot be in some cities in Uttar Pradesh? And especially now that we are debating, like I have office in Delhi only because I need a tight place where we can hang our name. So there is an opportunity that as a how do you invite Canadian technology companies? Is there any way this can come in the planning of Canadian companies that we could do even a startup company? I would say don't go for the big companies. Go for a small company like ours. Like I have office in Morocco. I have office in Nairobi, in Kenya, in Paris. Small, somewhere 1 employee, somewhere 10, somewhere 24. So, and people like us who are at a certain stage, we are a startup mode all the time in our lives. But many of us would like to not only make money, but this is the way we can serve our home country. So I think there is an opportunity, but it really requires that task force kind of minister had mentioned, that kind of a thing. And as I said, from PowerPoint to move to project plan, where we will have the details that how we are going to do it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Jha, for sharing your experiences. Now, Mr. Gupta, you shared something that we have a panelist. We have a message from Mr. Prasad. He says that he'll be keen to look for the opportunities with you. So his email address is here in the chat. You may take it from Mr. Prasad, from Mr. Atul Srivastav later on. And I would also like to ask the Honorable Nina Tangri. So you are assisting Minister federally in Economic Development, Job Creation, and International Trade. How would you describe, though you have a large part of it you have already answered, how do you describe Ontario government's vision of open for business in terms of business-friendly policy changes that you have been introducing in recent times?
Thank you. And what has happened is when we came into government, it's been just over 2 years now. The Premier, Doug Ford, he himself a business person, Minister Fideli himself a business person in the past. I am also a business self-employed person. So many of those in our government have come from the business world. And so we understand what it is to open a business, to run a business, the difficulties of hiring and firing, the difficulties of what it is to, understand what it's like to meet a payroll, what it's like to grow, the costs of business and how they work. WSIB, which is Workplace Safety and Insurance Board, where the costs are extremely high, which we hear a lot from our companies. So when we came into government, we said a lot of people came to us with lots of red tape and regulations, some of it which is very outdated, some of them from 40, 50, 60 years ago, which don't apply today. Many of them where the federal government has a regulation and the provincial government has a regulation. So we're looking at all of that, how it is to do business in Ontario. How can we make it easier for people to do business? And I think you've heard many people say the ease of doing business. And I think that's critical for all of us. And that's why right away, as soon as we became government, we formed government, we looked at ways on how we could make that do. So we're looking at hydro costs. So that's the cost of electricity. We're building more natural gas because the cost of natural gas is cheaper for many people. And we've looked at the ways of doing business. So we've already had one red tape, we call red tape reduction legislation passed. We have another one we introduced two that we introduced this week. We've had some regulations reduced in larger, what we call omnibus legislation. So we've made a lot of changes already in the first 2 years and a lot more to come, where we're making it so much easier for people to do business here. Now, also when you think about countries, if you're looking to the US or you're looking to Canada or other countries, you want to make sure you have a friendly immigration policy. So our country and our province, under our nominee program, if people want to grow here, settle here, we've made it easier for someone to come on what we call the economic visa. So in the past, we've actually halved the needs. And if you're willing to open a business outside of the main areas like Toronto, the greater Toronto area, or outside of Ottawa into the smaller rural areas, it's actually very easy to come here. So we wanted to make the ease of doing business much better for people because we understand it and because we know what it's like. So, everyone is welcome and free to contact my office, and we'll have the ministry in touch with you depending on your industry, on how, if you want to work together on finding ways, if you're looking for locations, we have people that can help you scout locations, regardless of what is it you do, whether it's technology, whether it's manufacturing, or any areas. And, when we started at what we call the Ontario Together Fund during COVID, because we were desperately needing masks and personal protective equipment. So masks, gloves, gowns, ventilators. We were looking for ways to find all of those things very quickly. And many of our companies here, they stepped up, they retooled their businesses and started building for us. And we also did many imports from many other countries, including India, that has helped us do that. So our ministry is very much more than willing. They're there, ready to assist you in anything that we can do to help you come here. And my office is always available to all of you.
Thank you very much indeed. We have just overshot the time. And what a discussion we had, and the idea of task force. In fact, many messages also I have got, and there are posts in the chat box as well. People have really appreciated the idea of this task force. I really look forward to Mr. Pramod Goyal, Mr. Mayank Bhatt, and Neena ji, to you, and our Secretary General is also there, Mr. Sanyal. We have to really take it forward. Now we will have to close it here until Mr. Pramod Goyal, you have something to say. Then I'll invite Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, Secretary General, for his formal vote of thanks. Mr. Goyal, you have any other point to make?
No, I think we had an interesting, yes, input from all the panelists, and I understand we're running behind schedule already.
Yes. So over to you. Now I invite Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, Secretary General of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, for the formal vote of thanks to this very, very interesting and forward-looking partnership between Uttar Pradesh and Ontario.
Thank
Over
you,
to you, Mr.
Dr. Ranjit. Thank you so much. At the outset, good morning to all the dignitaries from Canada and all dignitaries, good evening in India. So it is my proud privilege to present the vote of thanks for such a meaningful session. I was there throughout, except that I was getting disturbed by some phone calls, being the being the Secretary General here, and there were a large number of calls which happened in the evening. So I was on and off out of the circuit. However, I was able to listen to all the distinguished dignitaries who gave their valuable insights into the Ontario Uttar Pradesh Trade and Investment Collaboration Initiatives. I must thank both the Honorable Ministers, our Chief Guest, Mr. Siddharth Nath Singh, the Honorable Cabinet Minister, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Investment and Export, NRI, Sericulture, Textile and Handloom, Khadi and Gramodyog, Government of Uttar Pradesh, and Mr. Victor Fedali, the Honorable Minister, Economic Development, Job Creation, Trade, and Chair of the Cabinet, Ontario, Canada, and all the other esteemed dignitaries as well as participants for being this part of the session. It was indeed a very, very heartwarming and a very, very collaborative session which we had today. In fact, Excellencies, we at the PhD CCI have undertaken more than 826 interactive webinars during COVID-19, starting from the 4th of April till date. And let me tell you, about 25 interactive webinars were held with international dignitaries from various countries. Also, we have commenced B2B virtual sessions after these interactive webinars and have completed more than 10 such virtual meetings. As we speak now, there is a virtual B2B meeting already in progress with the United States of America, the Latin America and Canada. There's another webinar in progress, and a virtual B2B meeting is happening between the industrialists and industry captains from all these three United States, LSE and Canada countries, as well as India. So there are 6 Council Generals who are attending these meets today, and they are showcasing their business activities, their products, their manufacturing, and their services. So we are a very proactive and a forward-looking chamber, a national apex chamber of the MSME, as was brought out by our previous speakers, including Dr. Mehta, my colleague. It is a known fact that Indian and Canadian economies are complementary. There has been a history of complementaries between India and Canada, and there a large proportion of the Indian diaspora is already located there, including distinguished honorable ministers in the Canadian hierarchy, including Ms. Nina Tangri, I would say. And it's a pleasure and honor for us that this is happening in Canada, which are miles and thousands of miles away from us, yet we are so near and dear to each other. The winters embark, and the Canadians, the Indian Canadians are here talking business, doing business, meeting people, doing B2Bs, and this is what has been the hallmark of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry over so many decades, I would say. While India is a strong country in the services sector with highly skilled Indian professionals, lending a competitive edge to the Canadian businesses, the resource-rich Canada is a major supplier of uranium. Canadian pension funds are investing billions of dollars in India. Education, energy, and green tech offer unlimited opportunities for further collaborations. There remains a vast potential to further strengthen links between both the regions. Uttar Pradesh, as you already heard the Honorable Minister, between the 28 states and 8 Indian territories, it has stood the testing times, and it has left behind all the manufacturing gigantic states of Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Karnataka, etc. Coimbatore, to name a few. It has now come on the radar of the second best in the ease of doing business. So there remains a vast potential to further strengthen links between both the regions, that is Uttar Pradesh with its strong and highly educated talent pool, which can work alongside Canadians to formulate unique solutions around a future that promotes fintech and other wider tech solutions. And with the deliberations led by the sector experts in today's webinar, we are quite sanguine that this shall not only strengthen the ties between both the countries, but also pave the way for a constructive path to induce industrialization and further promote foreign direct investments aggressively in the state of Uttar Pradesh and in Ontario, Canada. We extend our profound gratitude to Radhiko Khaitan Limited, Nilanj Theme Park and Resorts, and BSNR Industries Limited for supporting this webinar. Once again, I thank each one of you, all the distinguished panelists, including the honorable ministers who graced the occasion. And this was the webinar which was slated for much ahead in schedule, but it was postponed, and we regret for the inconvenience which was caused because of the fact that our honorable minister, Mr. Siddharth Nath Singh ji, tested COVID positive. I wish to thank each one of you, including our distinguished Senior Vice President, Mr. Multani, who's leading a company and who's a leader for his company is almost 83 years old, one of the largest, biggest pharmaceutical and Ayurvedic company. So he's looking for opportunities and he's here. He's addressed the seminar. He's already set the tone and tenor of this webinar today in the august presence of the honorable ministers. So once again, I would like to thank each one of you, all the esteemed dignitaries and attendees for devoting your time and for giving your insights, especially to Ms. Neena Tangri, who stayed till 9:25 Indian Standard Time. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for gracing the occasion and being with us. Mr. Gupta and Mr. Jha, who's stuck here as we had the initial conversation, but is still enjoying his farmhouse. He wouldn't have got this opportunity if everything was normal. So, but in the new normal, you have really enjoyed your farmhouse. I'm sure you will not repent it, Mr. Jha. So thank you once again. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you, Dr. Ranjit and his team, Mr. Atul Srivastav and all his team behind the scenes who have done wonderfully well for creating this scenario and creating this webinar. Thank you once again. Once again, Jai Hind to all and good night.
Thank you, Neena ji. Thank you very much. Mr. Goyal, thank you so much. And we look forward to creating this task force very soon. We'll be in touch with ICCC.
Thank you, Pramod, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all.